This chart shows us the number of new words in each chapter of the English version of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and this data tells us a lot about how to approach learning a language, whether you're a beginner or stuck somewhere in the intermediate plateau. Since language learners, including myself, love reading Harry Potter in their target language, let's explore 3 highlights of this data to help improve how you learn and grow your vocabulary, and then at the end of the video, we'll even explore what happens if you read the books in the series back to back. Let's say you don't know anything about your target language and decide, I'm going to learn all of my vocabulary from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. You can see here that each chapter has roughly 4,000 to 6,000 total words. But this chart shows you the number of unique new words that you'll encounter in each chapter. You'll see that these numbers start high, then taper off, and go down to a lower, non-zero steady state. Let's make this a little bit clearer. This tall bar for chapter 1 includes words like Harry, go, the, and school. And while these words also show up in many of the later chapters, they don't count towards the height of these bars because they're already counted for chapter 1. In the later chapters, you have less common words making up these increasingly smaller bars, so things like centaur and checkmate. Rather than just thinking of this as the number of new words per chapter, the height of each bar could also be interpreted as the amount of effort it will take to get through each page, because you'll have to look up more words. As you go through the book, you'll have more words per sentence that you're already familiar with, giving you more context to help you stay engaged with the story. Zooming out on our overall pattern here, we have our first lesson. Yes, you will have an initial hill to climb, but it does get easier. For Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, that hill begins to even out after around 5 chapters or about a third of the way through the book, and there's a similar pattern for other books. One important note here is that you can acquire the vocabulary how you'd like. If you want to use physical or digital note cards like Anki, or you can just rely on the fact that after encountering a word 5 or 10 times in context, you'll begin to pick it up. I'll explore in a future video what this curve or what this process of reading a book would look like if you already had the 500 most common or 1,000 or 5,000 most common words in a language. So before we continue with this video, please do consider subscribing to stay tuned and leave a comment down below if there are any other explorations you'd like me to make. Now let's move on to lesson number 2. We'll need to change this bar chart to a cumulative chart showing the number of new words that you've encountered in each of the chapters. Wow, that tells a very interesting story. That looks like a mountain to climb up. Again, this is the same data that we saw before, just visualized differently, and that initial spike that we saw of a lot of new words in the beginning chapters is shown here as a steeper part of the hill. But once we reach that steady state, there's a challenging but manageable walk up the rest of the hill to the end of the book. So there's our second lesson. Extensive reading continues to help you improve by drip feeding you new vocabulary. Even when you're through that initial intensive period of reading, you're still going to get a helpful workout in. That means it's still worth finishing books in your target language even as the rate of new words begins to go down, because you're still going to get exposure to rich new vocabulary, and the last 2/3 of the book is helpful in reinforcing the words that you learned at the beginning of the book. Let's say you read and you climb up this mountain for the first Harry Potter book and you finish it. And now you want to move on to the second book in the series. How many new words are there? And then what does this path up the mountain look like? Boom! Assuming that you are familiar with the words from the first book, starting the second book doesn't have that initial bump. It's as if you kept reading more chapters in a longer book, because you're already familiar with certain zones of the language relating to school and wizardry and British desserts. If you had started to learn your target language with the second Harry Potter book, the new word chart would have followed the same pattern that we just saw for book 1, but because you read the 2 books in order, you can continue a brisk walk up the ever-flattening mountain. And this brings us to lesson number 3. Use book series to your advantage when you're learning your target language. If you feel like you're stuck in the intermediate plateau, stop reading in areas you're familiar with and search out those tougher first few chapters in other areas. If you've been reading fantasy, switch to memoirs, or history, or pop psychology, or mystery, and vice versa. On the other hand, if you're just starting out, or want to spend casual time in your target language in a way that will still help you grow, spend more time with that book series that you love. That's it. Leave a comment if there's a topic you'd like me to explore, and consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.